Here's yet another late NES title that I wasn't aware of until just recently, Felix the Cat. Developed by Hudson and released in 1992, Felix the Cat is a traditional 2D platform game that takes inspiration from Felix's whole career from the silent era to the 90s cartoon show, and also incorporates a lot of established platform game elements, such as Kirby's abilities and Mario's power-ups. As is the case for most platform games, Felix's girlfriend Kitty has been kidnapped by the evil professor and is demanding that the feline hand over his magic bag in return for her safety. Like all true heroes, Felix refuses and, bag in hand, goes off on a quest to stop the professor in his tracks and get his girlfriend back. Whilst on the surface it does look like just another platform game, Felix actually does things a lot differently. Rather than just do your bog standard running and jumping, the courageous cat starts off with no magical abilities and must power up his bag. First, he must collect several icons with his face on it. Collecting a certain amount of these gives him a heart, which gives him a stronger magical ability. Keep collecting icons and he becomes even more powerful. Some of these abilities range from a simple magical flash attack to being able to weld and use a tank. However, when he gains an ability, a meter appears showing how many hearts he currently has, and this slowly diminishes once they run out. Once this happens, Felix goes back to square one. However, in order to keep the ability going, Felix must continue to collect icons, some of which then turn into milk bottles for him to collect. These bottles will refill his heart meter, allowing him to keep and maintain this ability a little longer. If Felix takes a hit, then he reverts to the previous ability he had, which makes him a little weaker. This continues until he has no abilities, and if he takes further damage, he then loses a life. It's a very clever system. One thing this game does is reward the player constantly and is extremely generous in handing out extra lives. I mean, playing this a few times, I was able to get through the whole game without using any continues and built up quite a collection of lives. I think this game is more geared to younger players as the various levels are not as tough as you would think, and Hudson have thrown in a ton of variety, so you're never stuck doing the same things over and over. Felix will find himself flying in the air, exploring underwater and bouncing around various locations. Almost every level has a giant bag that Felix can enter containing even more hidden icons. The bosses are also really easy, and it's refreshing to play a game that you're virtually guaranteed to complete with, again, tons and tons of icons around to power him up. Again, this being a late title for the NES, the graphical style replicates the look of Felix and expands his world, which looks really visually appealing and imaginative. The game also throws in cutscenes every now and again between worlds, with the professor constantly phoning and taunting Felix. The game is not really super long, and some of the levels are actually quite spacious, and although this is quite an easy game, there were a few moments where I would die due to the overwhelming enemy patterns at times. The cool thing about this game is that there are checkpoints throughout each level, so if you die, you can pretty much restart just before the point you lost at. I should also mention quickly that the controls are just perfect and I had no issues whatsoever, so if you make a mistake in this game and fall down a pit or run into a baddie, then it's generally your fault. I think this game, although borrows a little from many other platform games, is in a league of its own. I really think the magical ability system was a great inclusion, as some of the things Felix can do is just incredible and is a nice twist on just giving him a hit point meter. As I said, this is the perfect game for younger players, as it will ease them into the genre, constantly rewarding them and balancing this with some gorgeous looking levels with a whole host of different enemies to fight who look just as good as Felix does. So is there anything this game is lacking? Well, the game could have done with some secret levels perhaps, and maybe a few different endings would have been cool. But that being said, this game does what it says on the tin. It's a decent platform game through and through that does things a little differently than most other games in the genre. I cannot recommend this game highly enough. It's the perfect game to play for stress, and the simple nature of the game just hooks you in, making you want to see just how many abilities Felix can weld. Plus the music and sound are great too. In conclusion, if you are a little tired of the repetitive nature of more well-known platform games, then give this a try. It's a refreshing change of pace, and Felix is just so charming and adorable anyway, you can't go wrong. Thank you so much for watching my review. If you have enjoyed it, then why not smash that like button and subscribe to my channel to be instantly notified when I upload a new one. Until next time, take care.